It was just an invitation from my colleagues from Germany to help them for 2 months to build up a maritime showcase museum in Singapore. That was time when war in Yugoslavia started. Just sign any contract, in 2 years we will see what's going to happen. So I packed and came. Brother Joseph McNally, the founder of LaSalle College of the Arts, invited me to teach. There's a lot of influences that came up after I moved in Singapore, and they reflect in my work in different ways. The history is one of the things that I always have in my mind. Difference is that Singapore has no problem with history, and I enjoy this situation coming from Europe, where everywhere you step on, it's some kind of history. Of course, being dislocated from my native country and space, I was thinking that I'm a dislocated person. I was very curious not only about where my home is, but how to present that stories and thinking in painting or in artwork. My work developed in regards to the different situation. I was more politically and socially engaged. My work was figurative. I tried to change world like every young artist. A few years I realized that the audience is very limited, so I stopped doing that kind of artwork. I came in Singapore and again everything changed because I lost my country. I got new country. Being a dislocated person, automatically memories play a great role in my life and in my practice. If you are able to be very selective and not have nostalgia, dealing with memory could be kind of efficient way of creating artwork. If you turn it and use it in a better way, memory is not going to kill you. No, I'm not nostalgic man. I don't have nostalgia. I adapted Singapore as my country. You can't carry that heavy luggage of nostalgia because it's not productive.
I didn't want to do math, I didn't want to do science. It's more of like what I didn't want to do pointed me in that direction as well. I think it's just something that comes quite naturally. It's in your nature to make marks immediately, and for me it's the most accessible. I think for me, I'm more accepting of the way things turn out within a frame. Aesthetically, I would say there's no fixed rule. The process has to be organic. Anything can become a painting, but the goal is not necessarily to always make a painting. You ask a series of questions and you recall memories and you do what your impulses ask you to do. Every artist faces rejection, and if we're talking about rejection in terms of sales, it's about finding the right person who wants your art. After it leaves your hands, you don't have a voice. You know, the work has to speak for itself. Things that people worry about, I think, as artists is context. You know, you find your work in stupid context. There's a way to make anything that's awesome sound stupid, and there's a way to make anything that's stupid sound awesome. It's just a phrasing of words, and that's what thought is. I mean, essentially a bunch of words in someone's head. It's in this belief that art is sustenance, that you have confidence. What's important for a painter is that you paint. Because in my mind, a painting is something that's the record of your thoughts and your memories. I think for me, it's important not to have the process as something that's laborious, because everything is very accidental at some points of time. It's kind of a game where you never win, basically. You're just trying to find a stalemate, and then you look at that and that's a recollection of what you've done. It's this constant dialogue, and there's no need for this notion of inspiration, because you do it as if it's something that's just very organic. It's just like digesting. You can't tell yourself to digest.
came to Singapore in 1955 after my marriage with Mr. Bhaskar. I didn't know what I'm going to go through here. I never expected because I was too young, only 15 years old. I didn't know what this life is all about. I didn't know what I was doing actually when I was very young. I didn't know how to choreograph. But I learned it by doing mistake, and there was nobody here, even now today, there's nobody to criticize your work. That's all. I do mistake, then watch them, then I realized that they were not good, so I changed. So I learned by myself a lot of things. I learned dance because my parents wanted me to learn, especially my father. I was not very happy or passionate towards learning dance or music, but I never knew that that will become my passion later, my life. We used to travel to Malaysia many times, and then a week at least twice, thrice, to make a living. So it was a challenge actually because Singapore was very young at that time, and Singapore government was not up to art at that time. We were like nomads. We didn't have enough income from teaching dance. 1963, television came, and with radio, television, then there was a bit more, awareness about art forms, traditional arts I'm talking about. And so we made money through TV programs. They paid us. In that way, we managed to, bring food for the children and for the home. There's so many ways that you can make people laugh and then make them think. Always there should be some kind of a message to the audience when you perform, when you choreograph, or when you do your art, any kind of art, I think. There should be a message given to the audience to think about. So I believe in that. Because dance is a language which I communicate with an ordinary person. The younger talents, young dancers, choreographers must read more philosophy, Indian scriptures, Indian literature. It's very, very important. Reading is very important. It connects because dance is not just dance. It's actually holistic art. It's about everything. Music, literature, you cannot separate them. And a lot of people have, like some of my own students started small companies like contemporary companies. It's fine. I'm not saying it is good or bad, but they have to remember they were trained in Bharatanatyam. So even the contemporary art should be based on that. Otherwise it will be very superficial. So there's no depth in your choreography, there's no depth in your work. So it's very important.
Sacrifices and compromises I had to make. Naturally, because I'm young, I'm studying, I have to spend more time on studying rather than my other commitments, which includes dance. The competition that we face in education and in academics in Singapore, it pervades into our art industry, and I don't think that's healthy for the art industry because it gives artists a notion that you need to please other people to get somewhere and that you can't rely on self-expression, not allowing young artists to focus so much on what they are passionate about. But at the same time, we're trying. Singapore is trying. We have, SOTA, we have other arts academies that propagate art. There isn't much allowance on self-exploration. Because of that, artists here are a bit restrained. I don't think Singapore is restricting you once you are out of the academic circle. The youth who inherit that art, they are trying to bring something that's already been here for so long and then bring something that's only become relevant in today's world, recently, and then make something out of that. They should still retain the essence of the original dance or the genesis of where it came from. But if they don't use the principles of where they came from, to guide them in that journey, all the fusion will look the same because there will be nothing to distinguish them as different genres. They might find that, these different genres, they are not meant to be mixed or they are immiscible, and they might find it a violation for younger generations to bring them together and make new things. I think it's because it's been around for ages. So you do feel privileged, and it's very humbling to learn something or inherit something that's been around for so long. You feel responsible to carry that forward. Although every genre has its own principles and disciplines, right? The ones with Indian dance are a lot more rigid and a lot more established. They've already been there, and they've already been fine-tuned. So following that to improve it or define it better, that's challenging, and I like that challenge.